Hey, welcome everybody to Spirituality Adventures. We're glad you're tuning into this episode. We are a viewer and listener supported podcast, so we really appreciate you listening, watching on YouTube. We really encourage you to subscribe to whatever platform you're using. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, or if you're on Apple or however you listen to a podcast, be sure and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. Also, make comments if you like it and share it if you like it. We really need people to make comments and share the episodes that you like. And then also, if you're not already a supporter, we really would encourage you to go to spiritualityadventures.com and you can pick a tier, and we have bonus content for every type of giver. This is a nonprofit, so they're tax-deductible donations, but we do provide bonus content for those who are supporters. So be a part of the team, help support Spirituality Adventures, and we're so glad you're tuning into this episode. All right. Hey, welcome everybody to this episode of Spirituality Adventures. We're glad you're tuning in, and I'm excited today to interview Hansa Devi. Hansa and I met maybe just last year or 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago at the Telluride Mountain Film Festival through a common friend, Rod Colburn. And Rod actually serves on the board of directors for Spirituality Adventures and is a great friend, and got to meet Hansa. And your partner is
Yoti.
Yoti.
Yeah.
And Hansa is an author, a yoga meditation teacher. Do you call it life? Do you do one-on-one teaching, sort of counseling, life coach kind of stuff? And
Yeah. It's hard to define that, right?
Mentoring, maybe.
Yeah, it's more,
Mm-hmm.
it's been very informal, but going on for over a decade. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
recently that I've made more room for that stuff because it's needed.
And just I loved your website too, by the way. We'll plug that at the end. But yeah, so I always like to start by just getting a little bit of your origin story, kind of where you grew up, what maybe your influences in your family were, particularly as it relates to where you're at now and the work that you're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want you to share a little bit about your name change as well and the significance of that.
Sure.
Hansa Devi, yes.
Yeah. So born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden. And I had a fairly, I want to say, common upbringing. My parents got divorced when I was 12. I have two younger siblings. And the moment my parents got divorced, my mom started pretty heavily drinking. And I quickly started to realize that I needed to understand her and her suffering. I needed to understand myself. And so very early on as a teenager, I started grabbing all of these kind of self-help books, but also was really drawn to spirituality in different ways, shapes, and forms. Anything I could kind of get to absorb at that moment. And I dropped out of high school to go travel and started studying high school on my own. I did an exchange year in the US as a senior in high school. And then after that, I never wanted to return to a formal sitting in school, doing school type of thing. So I started taking this was well before online schooling, by the way. There was no such thing. But I would bring my classes with me, go travel, and come home and take the tests. So I would be gone for 3, 4, 5 months at a time, come home, take the tests, bring new studies with me. And so that was kind of my life after my exchange year, and actually in Colorado. We'll return to why that's significant. That's where I live today. But long story short, I got the travel bug and really started to explore myself and the world and alternative ways of being. And I've always been fascinated by different ways of living life. And I always wanted to not just travel through places, but stay and see ordinary life, right? And so that was a big kind of draw for me to keep exploring. And then when I got back to Sweden, many years later, I started my university studies and so forth. And eventually I got a scholarship from the Rockefeller Foundation to go over to India and do a research project for 5 months. And this is when I just started my master's studies. And that particular research project ended up being a 2 year stay in India, which totally transformed me. And so during that time, and when the research project was done, I started a nonprofit over there together with a friend of mine. And so we were working at that time in healthcare management, and it felt really purposeful, the work we were doing, and felt like I was on this path of carving my own path and not necessarily doing the cookie cutter type of lifestyle that most of my friends back in Sweden were kind of in that world. And so and after that, let's see here, what happened then? So one of my friends from high school put me in touch with a guy that wanted to travel India, and he just happens to 17 years later be my husband. He came to visit, and I showed him India, and we've been attached by the hip ever since. And he was living in Colorado at the time. So it was easier for me to come back to Colorado. I always missed the mountains since I was an exchange student in high school. And so it was a very easy move for me I really felt like home here in Ridgeway. You've been to Ridgeway, you know the feeling.
Mm,
I've never, even though I've traveled so much in my life, I've never felt a place feel such a home.
mm,
And it could be the mountains, the people, the energies here. It was just such a draw.
mm.
And I've been here since 2009. So yeah, this is home now.
And tell us about your why you changed your name and what does Hansa Devi mean? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. And so it's kind of funny actually, because my birth name is Hannah, and my dad used to call me Hansa as a kid, and it started when I was a toddler, since I was very little. He's the least spiritual person on the planet, and I say that with love. And when I started studying Sanskrit, my teacher, the Swami at the time, he was uh, looking at our names as Hannah and Josh, Hansa and Yoti, my husband and myself, looking where the roots of those names come from. And Hannah it has a similar root as Hansa. And so he started calling me Hansa. And Hansa is it's in mythology depicted as the swan, and with Saraswati in Hinduism in terms of a swan, in terms of creativity. But it also roots back to uh, the Sanskrit mantra of Soham, Hamsaha, and it means I am that I am. And for me to have been called that since I was a tiny little girl, and I now want to obviously like remember that daily. I actually even have it tattooed on my arm to like remind me that that is what I'm here to embody and what I'm here to live up to. Um, so yeah, that's the short answer.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Devi
means
is
goddess.
goddess. Okay. So yeah, so I want to jump into a few big philosophical concepts first.
Okay.
Then I want to go to your book
Okay.
because the aphorisms or the cones that you have in your book definitely relate to these pretty big philosophical kinds of concepts, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
So, and just for my audience, I've been in the Christian tradition. Like I had this big encounter with Jesus as a teenager, felt called to be a pastor. I've got bachelor's, master's, doctorates in theology, right? So
Wow.
the ancient languages that I've studied have been like Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic because those are biblical languages. I went through a huge meltdown about 7 years ago, and led me to literally question everything I'd ever believed, and then kind of have rebuilt from there. And one of the things that part of my meltdown was I got addicted to Xanax and alcohol because I was an insomniac, and I had that was about a 2.5 year addiction, and then it led to some things. And so when I was in rehab, I got exposed to DBT therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy.
Oh, interesting.
It's like a cognitive behavioral therapy. It's founded by Marsha Linehan, but DBT has a mindful meditation component. She had gone to a Buddhist monastery and studied meditation through Buddhism, and found that could be a very valuable part of therapy. So I came to mindful meditation through therapy. Got back home and found a meditation teacher that I connected with, and she had trained with Jack Cornfield and Tara Brock. Mm-hmm. So I ended up doing their 2-year teacher certification program from 2023 to 2025.
Beautiful.
Went through their 2-year training. They come from the Vipassana Buddhist tradition. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm just a novice, and I've been practicing mindful meditation now for almost 7 years. But what I found myself doing when I listened to Dharma talks, I was always comparing and contrasting things that I've learned and studied through the year from my Christian tradition. And then as I was, kind of rethinking everything, it was just fascinating how my brain would be trying to integrate things and all that. So as we talk, I will maybe bring up some things from my tradition. I think there's some beautiful truth in all traditions, right? Mm-hmm. And I really fell in love with what I learned through Jack and Tara,
Amazing.
So, yeah. So go ahead.
Can I ask you one quick question?
Oh, yeah, you can.
Have you done a Vipassana yet? A 10-day silent retreat?
I did a 6-day silent retreat, and I actually did it in the winter of 2023 in Rod's cabin where you're going to be living.
Amazing.
And it was online because there was a number of things happening. So I did it on I prepared all my food ahead of time. I stayed in that place for 6 days.
Okay.
And did meditation all day long and would tune into them twice a day. But otherwise I was following the routine that they gave me. So it was 6 days, not 10 days.
Okay. Because that's what I cannot recommend it enough to go to a center. I've done 3 and it's been life-changing. And so I wanted to bring that up here because for the audience, anyone that's curious about Vipassana, it's a 10-day silent retreat that is so transformative. And I think everyone could give themselves that gift of that introspection. It sounds intimidating with 10 days of silence, of course, but it has the power to really change the patterns in you. So anyhow, that was I just wanted to.
I would say it's one of the hardest things I've ever done, which I didn't do the in-person 10-day, which is different. But I did do a 6-day, and it was like I could go out and hike all day long easy. But to sit with myself for 6 straight days.
Well, and then I think the evolution for you, do one at a center, because the group energy in the meditation hall, even though everyone is on noble silence, is so supportive. And then you also have the meals prepared and all of that stuff. I just, give yourself that gift sometime, brother, because it's transformative.
Thank you. I really did at the end. I mean, it was amazing how some of the things stuck with me and are still with me, even from that 6-day experience. It was really interesting. So I noticed, it says that you've learned from, and it mentioned 3 different traditions on your book. And I wanted you just to give us a very quick summary, because then I'm going to dive into the book a little bit. But So, and I don't know Sanskrit, so correct my pronunciations as I say these things. Feel free to correct my pronunciation. So one of your traditions that you said you had learned from was Advaita Vedanta.
It's Advaita Vedanta.
Advaita Vedanta. What's moksha and maya, and what is non-dualism from that tradition?
So non-dualism from that tradition is what it's pointing to, the word itself. It's the oneness behind it all. And I feel like all religions are actually pointing to this, but Advaita Vedanta is really going to the root of, they refer to it as Atman and Brahman. You are God, God is you. And that formless spirit that we are all an expression of. And Advaita, um, well, Vedanta is like the endings of the Vedas. It's like the final summary of the really long, heavy philosophical texts based on the Upanishads, pointing to our relationship with that one reality, which we are a part of. That's like the shortest I can kind of
Yeah.
summarize that.
I've heard I was in a Hebrew class in a evangelical seminary with a Hindu.
Oh, cool. That sounds awesome.
And she it was so fascinating. But she would have described Brahman as kind of like God, like she almost said it's almost like monotheism, but it's everything, right?
Yeah,
This
that's
is
a well. Hmm.
her, and then Atman would be more of a particular manifestation of that
Yes.
Brahman kind of
Yeah.
thing.
That's a
It,
yes, I totally agree with all of that. And so basically, um, it's almost like the formless and the form in a sense. That's how I like to like that's how most minds can wrap themselves around that. And yes, it's that unique expression of it. Um, and Brahman is the absolute, the one reality, the ultimate. And call it by whatever name we want, right? It's the same God in different names and forms.
mm-hmm. And then you mentioned Kashmir Shaivism or
Shaivism, yeah.
Shaivism.
Hmm.
And again, what that was non-dualism is a big part of your book, right?
Hmm.
Give us a little summary of what you learned from Kashmir Shaivism.
Well, so these are all very much braiding together.
Mm-hmm.
They're sister brother type of philosophies, and so it's hard to distill what's what exactly. But I want to say that Kashmir Shaivism has more of a tantric touch to how we experience life, and so in say, for example, Advaita Vedanta, it's a pretty hard line, like, I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, I am something beyond that. And then they point to everything is what is that beyond? While Kashmiri Shaivism, I feel that's how I really, resonated with it, is really looking at even the world in form is an expression of that. So it's not to shun the senses and not to say I'm beyond the body, but to experience the divine through the body or through our experiences in this physical realm. So they're very much complementary in that way. One is a little bit stricter, which has a purpose to like bring our awareness to I am not all of these things, right? I am to even inquire what am I beyond this physicality. Um, but then the tantric Shaivism or Kashmiri Shaivism is to me kind of giving us a permission slip to enjoy this life as we have been given it and not to become too disciplined just to kind of hold it at an arm's length distance, if that makes sense.
And what is the tantric part of that?
The tantric part of that is, well, it has to do a lot with the energies and the pranas and but also our senses to experience how we relate to not just the divine, but the physical realm, but actually experience the divine through the physicality. So the how the body and the senses can be a vehicle to actually experience God. And in the West, I also want to preface, in the West, the whole Tantra thing has been so butchered with like a sexuality type of framework where it has nothing to do with that. It's more about the senses and the sensual as of our experience through our not just through sex, but like through the our experience through all senses, right? Even our sixth sense, like and more of subtle ways of perceiving even. which I'm super fascinated by. That's a whole other topic, but yeah.
It was interesting. One of the people that was with us this past uh, mountain film was
Mm-hmm.
Madeline. I don't know if you've met her or not.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
Anyway, she was staying in the house with us. She lives up in the Seattle area, and she had gotten involved in a tantric group in
Okay.
Seattle, and it was so fascinating because one of the things was they just put something in their mouth and were just to meditate on the
Mm-hmm.
taste and the flavor, and it's dialing into the senses, and but like almost like a deep dive into just a simple taste experience. You
Yeah,
know,
that's beautiful.
it
Yeah,
was
we don't
really
pay attention to those things
right.
normally, right? We gotta
Yeah,
like really meditate on it to get there,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
funny.
yeah. And then in my study with Tara and Jack, we talked about sort of the nature of existence, and they would bring out three words quite frequently. One would be dukkha.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is this suffering, dissatisfaction experience. It's something that Buddha himself really was trying to figure out what's suffering all about, right? As he
Mm-hmm.
sat under the Bodhi tree there that you've been to.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, share that real quick with the audience. I think that's fascinating that you were able to hang out there.
Sure. So that was when I was still living in Hyderabad, India. I made a pilgrimage up to Bodh Gaya, in Bihar, and I was there for about 2 weeks, I believe. This was in 2009, and I would just spend time at the temples. And I did go and spend a whole day up in the cave where the Buddha, as we know him, uh, he was spending time in a certain cave before he started wandering down into town and sat under the famous Bodhi tree, which now has a whole monastery built around it and so forth. But sitting in that cave was one of the most visceral experiences I've ever had, meditating in someone else's space. And so that was really, that still lives with me. And it was a tiny little cave. And then sitting under the Bodhi tree, I just remember I would go down there every evening because the monks would sit in, it's a huge, the grounds of this monastery is huge. Um, and I would sit with the monks. Like I would like sneak in the back where they were all sitting down on the ground and they would sit there chanting and these really deep male voices doing the deep, deep chants. You feel the vibration because it's like coming from their chest, it's so heart resonant. And I would just sit there and tears would just like pour. Like I would just be crying for hours on end and I just couldn't stop it. It was just so beautiful. It was another one of those like really visceral experiences being in that vibrational field. Um, so yeah, that's a place that I definitely revere.
Interesting. So this they would describe as the nature the nature of experience, I guess, is how the dukkha being one of them, and then anicca,
Anicca.
anicca,
Hmm.
which is deals with impermanence,
Hmm.
how everything is changing, right? That's
Hmm.
that's really the common that's the thing that's constant is
Yep.
change, right?
Yep.
This was fascinating to me, and I mentioned this to you briefly, but in the Hebrew text, in the Hebrew scripture, there's this old Cain and Abel story, and then there's a later book after the Genesis Cain and Abel story called Ecclesiastes, which is a Greek word that's a translation of the Hebrew word Kohelet. But rabbis think that Kohelet book, Ecclesiastes, is a expansion, like an imaginative expansion of the Cain and Abel story. So Cain kills Abel. Cain, and in the Ecclesiastes story, there's this quote preacher, supposedly Solomon. It's not him, but he tries to acquire, because Cain in Hebrew means acquire. He
Mm.
tries to find meaning and purpose through everything under the sun: sex, women, power, leadership, all these different kind of things. And in the end, every time he tries something, It ends in, and in the King James version, it translates vanity, 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 everything's vanity. Well,
Mm.
in the Hebrew, that word for vanity, it's a terrible translation. It's actually Abel's name, and it's Hevel, is how you'd say it in Hebrew. Abel, Hevel. And it means breath or vapor.
Wow.
And then when you dig into it, it actually means impermanence.
Wow.
And so when I was studying, say it for me again, and I always say
Anicca.
Anicca. When I was
Hmm.
studying Anicca, and then I've translated that whole book in Hebrew, and I was going, wait a minute, because the word vanity sounds negative, but the word
Mm.
hevel is not. It's like
Mm.
everything, even good things, things that we would classify as good or bad or whatever. Everything is hevel. Everything
Hmm.
is temporal and flux and changing,
Hmm.
and that's not necessarily bad or negative, right? And so anyway, I was that was just fascinating to me to think about, and if from an evolutionary perspective, if you could stand in one spot for 1 million years, everything around you would radically change, right?
Hmm.
Every
Yeah,
the
no
rocks
doubt.
would change,
Hmm.
everything would be flowing and in flux. And I'm kind of a part of a theology world that talks about open process theology, which really, yeah, anyway, it resonates with Buddhism a lot in terms of non-dualism, in
Hmm.
terms of the nature of reality. Anyway,
Hmm.
so I
Well,
found
that's the
that,
beauty of it.
isn't
Like
that,
that you can see that overlap, I think, is something that's so important to highlight, especially in this day and age when there's so much division. But because we're just using different names and terms and explanations and stories to point to the same things. And I think we can't rehash that enough, that there's much more in common between all of us than there are differences, no matter what our faiths are or beliefs are.
yes, yes, I agree. And then the other word they mention is anatta,
Nata?
the no self or changing
Oh,
self,
uh-huh.
Anatta.
Okay. Yep.
Another Sanskrit word, it's kind of for the self, like the ego, like
Hmm.
do we real is the ego real? What is
Yeah.
the ego?
It's
Those
probably like aham in Sanskrit, um, which is the sense of self.
sense of self.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And yeah, so um anyway, those are some big concepts
Uh-huh.
about ultimate reality and
Hmm.
about who who people are, who what the world is around us, kind of a thing. So you like to
Hmm.
use the word formless for the big ultimate reality picture, Brahman,
Hmm.
and you like to use form for these various what you might call incarnations or manifestations of what is ultimate reality.
Hmm.
Is that good?
Yeah,
Okay.
spot on. Spot
All
on.
right. Yeah. So let's go to your book because I want to dive in. And first of all, the title of your book. When I first saw the title, I was thinking, because Plato has a very famous analogy from the cave. And so at
Yep.
first I was thinking, are you thinking of Plato? And then when you just told me about your trip to the Bodhi monastery, you're
Hmm.
probably referring to Buddha's cave,
No, I'm referring to the heart cave.
the heart cave. Okay, tell me about
But
that.
all of those, all of the representations you just said are pointing us to the heart cave.
Okay,
Plato's philosophies certainly does. And when when doesn't matter what lineage, when you go to sit and meditate in a cave, it's to shut off the senses. And in Sanskrit terms, we call that pratyahara, when we're withdrawing the senses to turn the gaze inward. It's like you're collecting your attention and pointing the gaze in. And for me, at the entrance of the cave, that particular one line came out of an aphorism that became like a mantra for me. And so it was almost like a no-brainer that it had to be called that because it was one of the strongest messages in what I had received. So, um, Yeah, that's why I chose it as the title for the book. But I do enjoy that it starts a lot of conversations actually.
Yeah. So here's the book, folks, and I got this off of Amazon, so you can go to Amazon and get it. And at the entrance of the cave, and you describe it's sometimes it's just two sentences.
Mhm.
Uh, you can see this. Those who are watching through YouTube,
Mhm.
um, you describe this as aphorisms and cones. Give us just a quick
Mhm.
your understanding
So,
of those two things.
well, just to give a slightly bit of context, so these things have been dropping into my field kind of as teachings or support when I needed them. And it started when I was a young teenager, actually, and I was processing my parents' divorce. I would go on these enormous long walks, and I would just be kind of mulling through things in my head, and I would just hear clear as day some sort of a message. And it became what I almost call like a mantra or an aphorism or a koan. It became like a sacred riddle that I like walked with and held. And some of these I held for years, and some of them, you know, served a certain chapter in my life, and some have come back later on, and so forth. So they are very much like a sacred riddle in that sense. And they keep unfolding the more I sit with them and the more I dig into them, depending on where I'm at in life. And so I just started collecting these, writing them down kind of for myself, and I had like a creative blockage writing the book I'm writing right now. It was flowing really freely, and then I realized that there was something in the way when I felt this really strong blockage. And once I started to figure out that, oh, well, it's because I'm sitting on a manuscript I haven't even shared yet. Once I started actually designing this book and putting it together, the second book started flowing again. So it was a totally egotistical thing to get this out and out of my like field. But so the koans in that sense and aphorisms, I'm just hoping that they will serve other people to, peel the onion for themselves.
Hmm.
And I'm sure every time you pick it up, certain things resonate more than others at certain times. And that's just let them work their magic is kind of my hope and prayer for the book.
Very good. So I've just got a few of them I'm going to read, and then I'd like you to
Sure.
comment if you're comfortable with that, and then I might
Yeah.
toss in a thought or two. So
Hmm.
page 12, find out who or what is hiding in the longing of becoming.
Mm, I love that. So that one probably came to me fairly, I want to say like early 20s. I'm 45 now. And it was when I was very deep in the search, on a spiritual search, on doing all of the practices, wanting to get, quote unquote, enlightenment and doing all of the things. And there was just this kind of halt moment when I realized that, well, wait a minute, what am I actually? It's not just, escaping something, but where am I going? And it just implies when you're in this deep seeking state that there's somewhere else to be or someone else to be. And what about what's right here? And so it became one of those things that, stopped me. And then moving forward, I've always held that with me or had that kind of, even though I'll always be curious, I'll always want to be learning, I'll always want to be reading scriptures, I'll always be, but it's not with this search or the feeling or sense of wanting to change something or um, that it's not perfect the way it is. There's a different flavor to the accumulation of knowledge, if you so wish. It's not to get somewhere. It's really just to understand this more. And so it kind of switched something in me where, yeah, the seeker and that type of drive got a certain different frequency, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, very good. I'm all about becoming.
Yeah,
We'll chat more about this in a minute.
please.
The 14, page 14. You start out as witness, ending up as source.
That's the journey. What
What?
does that bring out in you? I'm curious. Tell me what that.
Well, um, So here's this is I didn't know one of my deconstructions as I examined everything I'd ever believed. There's a stream of Christianity that I was brought up in that's a very conservative stream, and it's not all the streams of Christianity, but there's a stream of Christianity that is very big on you're a dirty, rotten sinner, separated from God
Mm.
or ultimate reality or whatever that is. And, and, we, from an evolutionary perspective, we have a negativity bias just from the fight, flight, freeze part, our amygdala, the brain,
Mm-hmm.
and then in some of our Christian traditions, then we throw on top of that this "you're a dirty, rotten sinner," and
Uh,
it really screws people up.
I bet.
And the other thing is if you look at the early first two chapters of Genesis, there's none of that. It's original blessing. It's not original sin or original separation. It's original blessing. And God, there's this energy force of creation that's almost like singing because it's poetic and it's good and it's good and it's good and it's very good and it's be fruitful and multiply. And those are like the first two chapters. So the whole thing's original blessing. Chapter 3 gets into the little story about Adam and Eve and the fruit, and she ate the fruit and this, da, da, da. So a lot of people start the story there. You're born into sin. You're a dirty, rotten sinner, and da 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 da, and you're separated from God.
Mm.
And so, theologies of separation. My conclusion is I think it's hurtful and destructive to human beings, actually, and I don't even think it's the right story to be telling, from a biblical perspective. So there's other streams of Christianity that don't tell that story. The mystic tradition in the Christian faith is a oneness tradition, right? So when you ask me, what does it bring up in me? That witness and source thing is really interesting. And you came many times, you ended your thing with "I am." And in the biblical tradition, that has a very significant, "I am" is a very significant thing. When Moses was being called to go back to Egypt and lead the people out of slavery, Moses was going, "Well, who shall I say sent me?" And God's response was this Hebrew, Esher Yehyeh Esher Yehyeh, which translated means "I will be that I will be," or "I am that I am."
See, that's exactly what I have in my hand. That's the exact same thing.
Right? And it's almost like saying the nature of reality, ultimate reality is always becoming. It's essence itself.
It's not becoming. It is.
It is,
It's
but
not becoming, but it's never changing.
So you think the Brahman part never changes?
I do. I
Okay.
do believe that is a constant and an absolute.
Okay.
And then whatever is changing is part of the phenomenal world or wherever someone has created a separation.
Okay.
At least that's my perspective.
Yeah. Well, I don't think becoming's a bad thing, though.
No, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
There's a lot of purification happening in that search and in that journey from being totally engrossed in this personality and being, I am this person, this is my story and all of this. But once you start separating yourself from that narrative, which is becoming more of the witness, you start seeing more and more and more that you ask the question, who am I? And that becomes the guiding star, the North Star. And the more you look at that question, you realize that you are no different than source. And so hence that is like that's the wheel in a sense. That's the journey, but distilled into that two or three lines that you saw in the book. And kind of encapsulating that perspective shift.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then, Jesus had a lot of "I am" statements. I am the light of the world. I am the shepherd. I am the door. I am the, there's a whole bunch of I ams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the bread of life, these kind of things. And one of my thoughts as I was rethinking all these things that from my whole history was like, Buddha was about 500 years before Jesus. And as I was rereading all of these things and rethinking them, I was thinking, I wonder if Buddha had an influence on Jesus's ideas. And there's probably some potential for that through trade routes and how things are communicated in the ancient Near East. Mm-hmm. It's been very fascinating. It's been one of my things that I've been very intrigued with, as I've been rethinking all of these things.
So I have to ask you on that note, have you heard of the lost years of Jesus and him spending time in India?
I've heard of it, but I have not dove in. I haven't done a deep dive onto that.
Yeah, it's very fascinating.
Have you done it?
Well, I would say touched on it.
Okay.
We've always been kind of curious because there's so many similarities. And it's just fascinating, right? I'm open to that, just like I'm open to aliens.
Yeah, right. Me too. Me too. Well, it's just been fun to think about. So when I think about witness and source, and I do think in the moment, in one of the things about my meditation experience is that this moment that I have right now can contain everything in the universe in this very moment, right? Mm-hmm. This discussion we're having right this moment. Mm-hmm. It's the reality of everything is contained in this very moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said.
I'm gonna continue here. This is page 16. Let go of trying to be that which you are not. By letting go of all that, there is room to simply be. I'm thinking of, and then you have some other aphorisms around the idea of surrender or letting go. Mm-hmm. Talk about that a bit. How do you see that?
And just to touch on what you were just reading, that to me is on one level, all of these have multiple different layers, right? But on one level, it's the going from the doing to the being and stopping the movement to see what's underneath. So that's one layer. And then the surrender part, it is surrendering the narrative and the story of who we think we are. Ultimately, it's surrendering into trust, surrendering into the plan of Great Spirit, whatever you want to call that. And same thing, that surrender happens on so many different levels, in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. But every micro surrender that we can do in a day and in a life brings us closer to that ultimate surrender where we can, if there's some sort of a cliche statement like when you lose yourself, you find yourself. I really do feel like that is at the heart of all of this. The more willing we are to let go of that persona and our habits and stories, then we open up to something greater. And we don't cease to exist. It's just that we stop clinging around a certain set of limitations and beliefs and perspectives of who we think we are, because we are so much more. So that to me is that it's a continuous shape-shifting surrender, but the more we can practice that, from the small to the large, and you have it in your mindfulness practices, different ways of surrendering, I'm sure, but it's pointing to that ultimate trust.
Yeah, one of the things that stood out to me in my journey in meditation is the clinging and resisting. Those two. Yep. And I do both of those things really well.
Yep. We all do.
And sometimes I like it.
Yeah. And I was going to say, you're even clinging to your resistance.
Exactly. Yeah. And, the last 7 years, I was a megachurch pastor. I built a megachurch in Kansas City and then had a huge meltdown. It was very public. And the last 7 years for me is felt like my ego has been just about grounded to nothing, And then as I meditate, I'm thinking, well, that's a good thing, right? But it doesn't feel so good all the time.
Yeah, I was going to say,
there's part of my ego that just keeps clinging and like wanting, some, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it's been really good for me to to think about clinging and resisting. And one of the phrases, "What you resist persists."
Hmm.
Ooh, the beach ball. I had
Hmm.
pushed so much shit down
Hmm.
in my earlier journey,
Hmm.
and it exploded, and a lot of shit hit the fan, and
Wow.
then and
Well, it's yeah.
yeah,
Blessing in
so
a sense. Well, on that note, with the constriction, or when the what we're holding, what we're resisting persists, a really good metaphor that I use with clients a lot when we find ourselves holding on to even that which we know is not serving us, be it a belief or habit or thought pattern or whatever it is. Instead of seeing ourselves holding on to it with, fisted hands or closed hands, see if you can just open the palms of your hand. It's not about necessarily shunning that, or, taking the big step of dropping it all, because you might not be ready for that. But see if you can just slowly start opening the fist of how you're holding it mentally and emotionally, right? And so for me, that's always been a good visual. I guess I like visuals. So just seeing how you tend to that holding of it, because ultimately equanimity is holding the ragas and the dvesas. It's like the likes and the dislikes, I guess I'm trying to say. If we can hold them in the palms of equanimity, then that's the ultimate goal, because we're not here to choose what is good or bad. It all serves a purpose at different times, and it depends on the context. So see if you can just open the palm of your hand there.
I like that analogy. Yeah, I love that. Page 20, your own your story, not the one you keep telling yourself, but the one you've been graciously gifted with all its challenges and treasures. Offer it wholeheartedly, with reverence, without commentary, as a gift back to life.
Yep, that's it. That's the practice.
Wow.
And how does that sit? And
Have you
what's the
ever
question?
have you ever read any of Robin Wall Kimmerer's
Hmm.
She wrote Braiding
Yeah,
Sweetgrass?
I read that Thanksgiving address almost every year to my sangha here. She's so, and I've actually sat with her live in Telluride at a book reading at the library there. She is such a force.
I love her. And she
Yeah.
came to Kansas City, and I put it down on the wrong date, and I showed up the day
Oh,
after at one of our local libraries about 15 minutes from here.
oh,
But they still had some leftover, her newest book called The Serviceberry.
that's a
And
good
so,
one.
so I did get a signed copy of that. And when I was camping out in Durango after I saw you,
Mm.
that was one of the books I read. The other one I read was The Entangled Life, which was a Cambridge PhD guy who did all his work on fungi.
Oh, interesting.
And holy crap, I read her book and then his book.
Mm.
Fungi is magical, man. Like,
No doubt.
holy crap. Like, I was,
Yep.
but yeah,
So, yeah.
that got me her stuff on reciprocity. And you had an
Hmm.
aphorism in your, a few of them on reciprocity and gift how she talks about gift economy and that stuff.
Hmm.
So beautiful. So that's what it,
Wow.
that's kind of what it
Wow.
brought up in my mind a little bit.
I am honored that you bring up her in this context. Like, she's one of, yeah, she has impacted my life profoundly. The way that she sees nature as animated with life,
Yes.
that is
Yes.
something that I think is the missing piece in how we relate to nature. And I feel it so intimately, but it's almost been kind of cut out of our culture and paradigm of seeing nature as a living entity
Hmm.
and calling it, instead of her or him or whatever. We are removing ourselves from the aliveness that is, in all of us, including nature. So yeah, she's a huge, yeah, role model, I guess is the best word. But yeah, that particular piece, um, yeah, that's the journey, is to dare to let go of the story, to see what's beneath it, because you are so much more than that narrative.
Yes. I heard Brene Brown say shame is an unwanted story. I mean, it's one aspect of shame. Shame can
Mm-hmm.
be self-hatred, can be never enough. I'm using some Brene Brown's language. And one of the things is she mentions an unwanted story. This flips the script
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
shame.
Exactly. And another huge piece here that I think that I talk a lot about in different ways, you probably read it a ton on my Substack, but it comes back to this responsibility, our ability to respond. And if we can let go of this kind of victimized sense that we are a result of our story or the things that happen to us, when we can kind of let go of that narrative or hold it in more open palmed hands and see it for what it was and see the blessings and the lessons that we learned along the way, hopefully then it's something where I just lost my train of thought. That's hilarious. I guess that's one of those embarrassing moments.
Hey.
No, but oh yeah, so the responsibility piece. So it gives us our agency back.
Mm,
Like it is actually on us how we choose to evolve or cling on to things or loosen that grip and actually grow out of something.
mm,
And it's about our willingness, and it's about our ability to respond to life rather than react based out of autopilot and previous conditioning. So I think that's also another thing that at least for me, when I started to, unpack that aphorism in my own journey, it brought the agency back to it's actually up to me
mm,
how what will unfold here.
mm. Beautiful. I love it. Page 36, I thought it was interesting. You had one on renunciation.
Mhm.
And renunciation of the effort, of the idea of being in control, of wanting to change, of wishing things to be different, of attitudes and beliefs, of endless desires, of searching for peace, of wanting liberation, of the layers we collect, of what we use to cover up, of that which veils the purity of existence, of judgments coloring our vision, of the complexity we create, of who you think you are, of suffering. Yes, it is a choice of all that the moment is not. Renunciation.
Mhm. Yeah, it's been a big theme throughout my own life, always thinking I would have to go somewhere else. We often visualize going to remote places and just be taken out of our daily distractions to like find that inner peace or contentment or whatever we're drawn to find or yearning for. But if we can start to look at all of these things that actually veil our perception of reality, really, truly, like our emotions, like our stories, like our wishes and wants, and wanting things to be different, and seeking this instead of that, and all of these kind of polar opposites. Um, if we can really kind of drop down beneath these, yeah, I want to call it ripties or thought forms, then if we can let go of them, dig beneath them and let go of them, then that's really where we find that equanimity and that contentment and that peace. And so you don't need to go anywhere. Like it's literally right here. It's about how you're clinging to its opposite, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been a hard one for me to experience frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I got a strong, like I'm a goal oriented, type A person now.
There's nothing wrong with that either, though.
But it's good to let it go sometimes
Mhm.
too, but anyway. Um I there were several things on love that you mentioned. I'm gonna read a couple of them. Page 31. Love is to see. By the way, I thought even if there's not a God, I said I still believe in love. I still
Hmm.
believe in beauty. I still believe in creativity. I still believe in grace. And so I thought I'm just going to press into these things and call them God. Like I was.
Beautiful.
Um,
Beautiful.
but I'm going to read some. Love is to see the profound in the ordinary, and to know that it's all the same.
Yeah.
What was it? Who was the poet who, I can't remember if it's T.S. Eliot or somebody. You search. I'm going to paraphrase. You search all these places, and the end, you come right back around to
Hmm.
right here where you're at.
Hmm.
It was kind of
Yeah.
a.
Yeah.
I,
And we also often miss the forest for the trees. Like if we cannot see the love in the ordinary and realize the profundity of that, it's like you want seeing the divine or seeing the light in everyone you meet or everything in existence. That's the exact same thing. Seeing the profundity of the love in the ordinary, that is that is a gift when you can start seeing that. And I think if that's also practice, actually. But the more we attune ourselves to that, the more we start to see it. It's almost like when we start seeing synchronicities, like it happens all the time. And it's the same thing, it's literally the same thing because it's the universe speaking to us just through different dialects.
yeah. Have you read Jung's uh, thoughts on synchronicity?
I don't
Carl,
know if I
Carl
have.
Jung?
I read a lot of Jung when I was a teenager, and I found a bunch of Jungian books in my grandfather's bookshelf after he
Mm,
passed, and I was like, this is so fascinating.
it really
So, but
is.
I can't remember the titles of everything I read
Well,
back then.
he has an article that he wrote just entitled Synchronicity, and it's really
Oh, cool.
interesting because he had this idea of this universal unconsciousness kind of
Hmm.
idea.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting to read him on synchronicity. I find that fascinating. Here's another one, page 42. We see each other beyond the idiosyncrasies of being human. We find refuge in the silence that holds it all, the words, the language, the mind. We hold each other in the spaciousness of the heart. In love, we are.
Yeah, that one was born out of moments with my husband, who I feel we have this crazy, beautiful, sacred union of understanding and just very spacious. We hold each other very reverently. And I mean, just energetically, how our container for our love and our relationship is. There's a lot of respect, there's a lot of reverence, there's a lot of trust, of course. And I feel like when you can really land in that deep love, you can see beyond the behaviors. You can see because you see the being beneath it all. So it doesn't necessarily matter what the words are. So it kind of stems from that. And I think it's another important thing to remember, right? When we are quick to judge people in society or whatever people we don't agree with, but if we can see beneath the behavior and know that at the level of being we are the same, um, because we all exist in that frequency of love. Love is what we are, and so when we can like get back to that within ourselves and can start seeing that everywhere else, I feel like it shifts our whole vision and perspective on things.
Mm. I I like to, my spirituality adventures, I like to define spirituality as like connection, belonging, or
Mhm.
love with self, others, and something greater.
Mhm.
It's very simple,
Mhm.
but but it's I think it's a journey we're all on.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally. And so, and to tie that back to you were asking what is Vedanta, Vedanta would say that the self, other, and that which is beyond is all one and the same.
hmm
That's the heart of Vedanta.
hmm Um, we're running out of time.
Yeah, go, 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 go. You do what you need
I
to
want to
do.
talk about the flag real quick.
Sure.
It's abrupt transition there. Sorry about that.
That's all good.
Um, I could, yeah, I could talk to you a few hours just about all the thoughts that came up when I read your book. But
Cool.
um, so tell us about the international flag of planet Earth. Here
Sure.
here's the design of the flag. This is a sticker that you gave me,
Hmm.
and there's a patch here,
Hmm.
and there's a sticker, another sticker,
Hmm.
and then also you can go to the website and you can order various different sizes of the flag.
Yep.
Give us a bit of the idea behind this flag. Who developed it? Why are you involved with it? How did you get involved with it? And what are your hopes and dreams around it?
Sure. So it was developed, designed and launched in 2015 of a man called Oscar Pernefelt, who happens to be my brother. It was his graduation project from the design school he went to in Stockholm. And he decided to create a flag representing planet Earth because on a very practical level, we don't have in our flag system, we don't have anything representing the planet. And if we're going out into outer space exploration, we might want to consider having something that's just not representing one single little nation, but rather our planet as a whole. And so that was kind of the seed thought behind it. And he created this blue flag with an emblem on it. That's a white emblem that looks like seed of life for the people that are only listening to this and not seeing it visually.
Right.
It's seven interlocking rings on a field of deep blue. And basically, why he used this particular symbol was because it shows the interconnectedness of all of life. And this particular symbol has been seen in ancient civilizations for since time immemorial. And it can also be seen in nature everywhere as a symbol. And it's an infinity symbol. It can expand into infinity. And so he launched this in 2015 just as a project, a school project. It blew up overnight. He had a 500,000 views on the website just overnight. And this was before social media. And he got so many requests of taking this further, but he decided to just continue with his career approach and ladder of being a art director at the time. Now he's a creative director in Sweden. He's too humble to say it, but winning awards left and right for all of his crazy cool ideas. And this was that fundamental idea that was kind of laying as a backdrop for his entire career, but also he chose not to pursue it and put all of his energy into it. And I, as a sister who has run a nonprofit prior in India, I was like, we've got to let me do a nonprofit here and steward this flag out into the world because you're getting so many requests. He had thousands of emails just laying in his inbox unread. And I was like, you are not doing the world a service here if this is actually it has so much momentum and is being so requested. And then fast forward to COVID in 2020, I was like, okay, brother, it's time. We got to do this. We got to form this nonprofit. We got to serve as the awareness agency of this flag and get it spread more out into the world. And so that's when we really started to shape this organization that has a team of, we're currently 5 volunteers that are working on this. And Rod, actually, our friend, he's on the board of directors there too, and have a really strong, beautiful advisory board. And we are stewarding this flag in a lot of different ways. We're selling the flags, but we're also working on collaborations where other brands and businesses are using it and sharing the message of the message of the flag itself is that we share this planet, we need to take care of it, and we need to take care of each other. It's simple, but our goal is that when you see this flag out in society and in your communities and be it online or physically, that you're reminded, one, to put Earth first because it's a representation for our astronomical body of planet Earth. But it's also a reminder of what we need to come together to collaborate for solidarity, for respect, and for care and unity, and seeing how our actions there's a cause and effect to our actions. Everything is interconnected. And it's been beautiful to witness how this flag has 100% organically got a life on its own. And it has been planted at the Antarctica. It's been brought to base camp at Everest. It's been up on Kilimanjaro. It's been mentioned by the EU Parliament. Jane Goodall marched behind it in New York. I think that was in like 2017 or 19. It has been engraved into nanotechnology used by MIT. I think we're up to like 9 different people sending us tattoos that they have made with this. And it's just, it's really, really, really fun to see that. I think, one, we are a very multicultural, multinational, global population nowadays where we travel a lot across borders. Many people have lived in many different countries. And this is a question of, where do I belong? Who do I belong to? Is nationality, it's not instead of nationality that we're presenting this actually, but a lot of people feel like I'm more a global citizen or an Earth citizen than I am a certain, affiliation to a certain country. So for a lot of reasons, I think the world is ready for this message. And we do need to take care of our planet and we do need to take care of each other. And so it's my day job it started as a passion project that feels extremely purposeful. And I feel like our job is to spread this flag because it will outlive all of us.
Mm. Well, there's a picture on the website was it one of the astronauts that?
Yeah, so that was one of the launch photos. So he got approval from NASA to use a handful of photos in 2015, and this was way before AI. So these were all retouched and done for the launch of the flag itself. And so far, it hasn't been brought up into space. We have got, I want to say, 2 different requests from astronauts to bring it up, but they end up having issues with their own agencies that they think they're being competed with. But one day we'll see it up there, I'm sure. So yeah.
Made me think when I saw that picture of the flag with the astronaut, they talk about this overview effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And like it's all of a sudden like you're looking at our
Yeah.
planet and you're like going, oh my God,
Yeah. I'm
it's,
glad you bring that up. So that was a huge inspiration of Oscar's actually, because he was really into the Carl Sagan looking at the back at Earth as the pale blue dot. And when we
yeah.
are looking back at Earth, we don't see the borders. We don't see anything but a precious jewel of a gift of a planet and the life we can have while here. And so it has been hugely inspired by that perspective. And because not everyone will in their lifetime go into outer space to receive that experiential perspective, right? It's almost like a spiritual experience for people when they see that and have this aha moment. If this flag, even in the smallest, slightest way, can remind us of that perspective, that's really what we want. That's why we're in this. It's for a shift in perspective. It's a shift in awareness, truly. And we hope that the symbol is part of that because we believe in the power of symbols.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful. We have run out of time, Hansa. I could go on for hours. Next time I'm in Ridgeway, I'm gonna we'll have to have a long session.
Sounds great.
But you closed your book with a loving kindness blessing, and maybe I'm going to read it, and then you can add to it.
Okay.
And sign off. How's that?
Sounds great.
So this was on the last page of the book. May all beings everywhere, seen and unseen, be happy and free. May the thoughts, words, and actions of this life contribute in some way to that happiness and freedom for all.
Mm. Yep, that's it. Om Tat Sat. That's at the heart of it all. That's why we do this.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Beautiful.
Yay.
I love it. I love it. And your website, give us your website.
HansaDevi.com. Pretty easy.
HANSA.
DEVI. Yeah.
EVI.com. That's a great website. I loved it. And
thank you.
So much stuff there. You have classes, one-on-one mentoring, one-day retreats. You're working on another book. You've got this book that's out. You teach there in Ridgeway. You've been doing that for 10 years. And then what's the website for the flag?
flagofplanetearth.com.
Flagofplanetearth.com.
Yep.
And anything else?
No, I think we covered it all. You'll find everything you want to know on the website.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for
you.
tuning in to this episode. We appreciate it. Have a great day. Hey, you made it to the end. Thanks for listening all the way through on this episode. By the way, if you're not already a supporter, go to spiritualityadventures.com, sign up for one of our monthly supports, and you will receive our bonus content. You'll receive lots of interesting information about our guests. Many of our musicians will do special bonus songs and record a song. So I want to encourage you to do that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Be sure and subscribe. Be sure and share any of the episodes that you like. And be sure and make comments if you like them as well. This helps us get Spirituality Adventures out there to more listeners, more watchers. So whatever platform you're using, subscribe, like, share, make comments, and go to our website, sign up for our team, and be a part of the team support. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.